Wow, this has been long overdue, guys.
Yeah.
Way too long. And I think we were also saying like this interview would have been different when we intended.
For sure.
Because I think that during that time, you guys just landed the barbecue show on Dash. And Lulu, no, sorry, it's a year after. And that's when Lulu introduced me to you guys.
And the whole world was delicious.
Why, are you a little salty now?
No. Just wiser.
Yeah, but don't you guys think getting involved in radio has changed your personalities?
You
Yes.
think it changed your personality?
I think so.
What's changed?
I would say I'm a lot more conscious about what I say.
I'm calling
as
bullshit on that.
No, as a talent?
As a talent. Because I would say way.
You know what? Yeah, I agree.
To the left shit. Like I would just really kind of go ham with it, but just kind of be conscious about the people that are listening.
Okay.
So then that's probably what changed.
Okay. Initially, I would be like, nah, this is us. But I do in the back of my mind, but not even so much in the back of my mind. I understand the voice that we have now that I didn't realize before. Right. So that being said, I too am cognizant of how things I say may be taken.
Well, because with the barbecue show, that was more family friendly, and when I was guesting on your show,
right.
Then Lulu's like, "Oh my bad, this is not. You can't be like lip service or how you're paid in programming for satellite." Like
exactly.
to be wild. You can't be like Chinese Rujude
exactly
on the barbecue show.
Yeah.
But do you guys at one point think you could have gone left? Because I feel like on your end, Q, you could be either or.
Right.
But I've spent a lot of time with Sav where...
You know where Sav stands.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
For the listening audience, being in Carson's already dangerous, and then you're eating chili cheese fries and fried chicken in your 40s. That's plenty dangerous, right? But yeah, I saw you going. You could be, well, you can go Chris Rock, but you can go Martin.
Yeah.
Filthy Martin.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so.
I laugh because that Martin is one of those characters where I was like, yo, I think I could do that for a living.
That would be fun, dude.
Yeah.
So now, would you guys say there's an automatic internal button that you guys hit once the mic's on?
I think there's a.
Or is it overall?
I think for me, it's I struggle with it sometimes.
Okay.
Because again, it's like, I definitely want to just be me, but then there's a certain responsibility that comes along with it, and so sometimes I just want to be me and just say like, you know what,
F that.
the hell with everything. You know
right.
what I mean? But then, obviously there's kids and things like that, and there's parents that actually listen to it. And I mean, even us being the way we are now, and we're not as, or for me, I'm not as X-rated or whatever like that.
Sure.
We still get comments about some of the topics that we actually cover.
Oh man, yeah, we got a comment last week.
What'd they say?
We touch on topics, and we put questions out there just to make sure that we're engaging the audience. And when we engage in the audience, we don't have a control over how they comment.
Right.
Right, Joe?
Yeah.
And so we had this, and he's a good friend of ours, and obviously I'm not going to name him, but he was like, man, why are we doing this? It's I tuned in, and he said, I saw the topic, and then I saw it got ratchet, and that's why, and then I tuned out. And in my head, and he said something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, this is what I write music to battle this, and why can't we uplift our people? And I was like, yo, you got all that from that one comment? You obviously didn't check the resume. I mean, with the barbecue show, we've always highlighted community organizations. Shit, we just spent a month away from our family and our friends, and we were in the islands giving back and helping with the Cyclone Gita relief and providing fresh water and giving school supplies. I'm like, yo, man, you gonna come at us like that? It's crazy. So,
well, I'm gonna defend him and then smash him. Okay.
Yeah.
The defense is complimentary because this is the reason why I got with you guys a little bit longer. I was really focusing on what you guys were doing, and you guys are these pillars right now of the Samoan, Islandesian, Guamanian community. Because with the Filipino community, Joe, you and I have had this conversation.
Yeah.
Filipinos aren't very tight. They point west so fast, they're on their own. So possibly maybe from his perspective is like, hey, we're family Islandesians. But at the same time, this is the purpose of, it's unheard of, so I'm making a reference that people don't have serious. They won't know it, but I'll tell them the purpose of what I do 4 days a week is for people's minds to progress. You can't be grumpy like, F the millennials.
Yeah.
Right?
You know,
I agree.
You know, because now you guys involved in radio, you know that some of the stereotypes are true, but there are a lot of exceptions, which is becoming the norm.
Sure.
So that's the other exception, because as listeners, you can't be old school and just listen to Stern to go, porn stars on his speaker, he's muffing it.
Yeah.
But he's responsible to go, oh, we're supposed to grow all together.
Gotcha.
In radio.
Yeah.
And that's his fault, because with how busy you guys are, all those comments should be white noise at this point, because you can't like even think about that because you guys are so concerned about being talent and programming, right?
Yeah. I think the reason why it actually stood out was because it was somebody that we knew. And it was from like left field. Knowing this person, like something had to strike a chord with him, with whatever that topic is, question, or whatever people were commenting about, for him to actually respond. And just the way he responded, it was almost like, okay, are you really a fan, or is there something within you that you really want to talk about? It's less about this topic and it's less about what we're doing, but it's really more about you. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I personally haven't had the conversation with the brother, but, you know, we did respond to him.
Oh, okay. And did he understand, or is it kind of like one of those, all right, well, opinion A, opinion B?
Nah, I mean, it was pretty much, we had to remind him, check the resume, bro. You can't take a snapshot of this and say, oh, okay, then that's what Island Block is all about. Because, I mean, if that's the case, I could point to any one of your records and be like, oh, now you're, you know, I can't take a snapshot of your entire category, your production off of one record. You're doing that to us.
Right. Like,
and it wasn't even us, bro. It was like it was a comment from our listening audience. It wasn't even us.
Right. And you know, maybe you can grab like an 8-bar sequence from his track where he talks about tranny love or something. You go, see?
You're like, yo,
this is what I'm talking about.
Stop being self-righteous now.
Right,
Come on.
right, exactly. So if you guys don't mind, this will play on satellite.
Cool, yeah.
Most likely BBC also.
Yes.
So it's a new audience, and I wanted to speak highly of you guys, probably behind your back a little different. But the 8 to 5 frame of mind is kind of like what we're talking about right now, comment-wise, because they don't understand the mind matriculation and transfer to being in entertainment.
Yeah.
So maybe you guys will individually give your passing. What was your minds before you guys got into podcasting? Because it started as a podcast, right? Or was it live already?
It was live.
Yeah, it was live.
Okay, so
it's always been live.
So it's always been live, but it's through streaming.
Yes.
Entities. So what were your frame of minds before? Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this live on air thing.
My frame of mind was that I didn't want to do it.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, I remember.
You know what I mean? Because actually, Q had to really kind of talk me into it. I think, man, it was probably like some months. And so when he first got approached with the opportunity, he approached me with it, and you know, it was a cool idea. But then for me, you know, doing what we were doing at the time, working in the community, it was like, well, I don't do music, and yeah, I mean, I love music, but I've never had any experience with it, so it was one of those things where I'm just gonna stick to my lane. I'm gonna do what I know what I do, and at that point, we were in the trenches and doing work with the community, so. That was my first initial thing when the opportunity came up. For you?
I'm very convincing though, as you can tell.
Absolutely, man.
For me, it was, and I don't know if I backtrack and kind of give the reason why we started. So in 2010,
we'll do it like Pulp Fiction.
Okay,
we'll go whichever method.
Okay, in 2010, It was a whole census push. And you know, you're obviously familiar with that. It's you know, the government, the federal government finds out, they get this data. Where are the people? Where are the communities? You know, and then based off of that data, then they assign resources to specific communities. So Joe was saying that we were in the community. We both worked at nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations. And then during the 2010 census campaign, we applied. I was an executive director for an organization, and Joe was also working with us as well. And so I applied for funding from this foundation, and it was for advertising, marketing, promoting of the census 2010 for different ethnic groups. So our Asian American brothers and sisters, they applied. They got accepted. Our African American brothers and sisters did the same. Latino brothers and sisters, they applied. They got accepted. And so when Joe and I, we applied on behalf of the NHPI, or Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander community, we applied and we got denied. Exactly. So that's what I did. I said, and I was pissed. Joe was pissed. And so I went back, and obviously I needed to find out, well, what was the reason why we got denied? I was like, that's not fair. It didn't sound fair to me. And when they explained to me why we got denied, I couldn't do anything but agree with them and then figure out something to do. So our Latino brothers and sisters, they got Univision and Telemundo. African American brothers and sisters, they got BET. So they basically told us, as an NHPI community out here in the States, you guys don't have any ethnic media. And I couldn't argue with that. You know, I was pissed, but, you know, and I think that's when we decided that, you know what, we're not going to make this an excuse on Census 2020, sorry. And then so we created the barbecue show as our form of ethnic media, as a first platform to really establish a voice for our people.
So when you guys are growing up, the immediacy of being proud of who you are was already in you guys. Like, in other words, you'd see the Cosby Show and you'd be like, oh, okay, you know, black folks, African-American folks on TV, cool. Mm-hmm. But you guys were all already like, there wasn't a need to be Western. You guys were just, I'm Samoan American, I'm Guamanian American. Or was there a change?
I think for me, my neighborhood where I grew up at, Eastside Carson, there was a large Samoan community there. And so there was a long history of my peoples there, you know, especially coming straight from Samoa. And so I think that was sort of like the positive reinforcement and having us be proud of who we are. You know what I mean? And so, like, the community is not is like no other. You know what I mean? There really isn't no pocket of Samoans outside of Samoa like there is in Carson. And so that's the reason why, for me, it's really a point of pride, because, again, there was a lot of things that were going on, even within the 50s and the 60s prior to even us doing what we're doing right now. It was like there was a lot of my uncles that was part of the Black Panthers and a lot of these other, you know, community sort of like movements. And so, kind of growing up, and then also growing up during the insurgence of the gang culture, you know what I mean? Like, all these different elements within the community really kind of molded who I was, or who I am to this day. And so, growing up, having the majority of your own people in elementary, middle school, and in high school, there's that, you know what I mean? There's that really sort of like stronghold, because it's like we made it cool to be who we were. And so we didn't really have to like act like anything else. Even though we acculturated to other ethnicities and other cultures, we adapted some of those things, but then we held on to our own. So to answer your question, yeah. Okay.
For you, Q?
Totally different. Because one, being Chamorro or from the Marianas Islands, or, you know, from Guam, nobody knows what that is. You know, I remember people, I would get teased from my boys. They're like, Chamorro, what is that? Like, Guam, what is that? Is that another planet? Nobody's ever heard of it. Even within the Pacific Island community. Yeah, most people look at me and they go, oh, man, yeah, you're Polynesian. And I'm like, no, I'm actually Micronesian. They're like, what? So for me, growing up in Long Beach, which is predominantly African American, You know what? I would say throughout, even through high school, I knew I was a Pacific Islander, and I always, for some reason, gravitated towards other Pacific Islanders, and I believe that is a result of just us looking familiar, and like, if I look across campus and I see a couple coconuts, I'm gonna give them the nod, and everybody knows what the nod is, and then we're gonna end up eating lunch together. And then, so it wasn't until I really went to college. I went away to college at San Francisco State University, and then seeing even less people that look like me on campus, you gravitate even more so towards your people. And so as a result of that, we started the first Pacific Islander club on campus, first Pacific Islander fraternity in the United States. And so for me, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but backtracking, growing up in Long Beach, I was just like one of the boys. I was athletic. I hung out with a lot of brothers and the few Pacific Islanders that were in my neighborhood. But your question was, when did the pride, I guess it was always there, but not outwardly until I got to college.
What were you majoring in?
Communications major.
And then, since this is long form, going from Long Beach to San Francisco State, I mean, that's the Black Panther movement. Yeah. That's, I'm locavore vegan.
Well, San Francisco State was the very first campus to ever have an ethnic studies program.
Great.
In the country.
So was it like utopian, where it's like, oh my God, bro, we are one?
It was eye-opening.
Okay.
Very liberal campus. Everybody's very, as they say, woke up there.
Sure.
And it was something way different from coming from LA. And Joe, I'm sure you could probably attest to this. When you grow up in LA, Carson, Long Beach, you grow up with your head on a swivel, and you have an innate sense to pick up tension. When you walk in a room, a club, or whatever, it's just the gang life, the street. And I was never in a gang. And Joe, I make this known. Like, I'm not about that life, but I did grow up with the survival skills in the streets of Los Angeles and then going to another place, realizing, yo, man, that should not be normal. Growing up with your head always looking around for somebody to shoot should not be that's not the norm. Joe, you agree? Oh yeah.
I mean, again, I think it's just something that you kind of grow up with, man, especially if you grew up in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? If you grew up around the gang culture, you know that from a kid, you know what I mean? There's certain things that happen, and you're pretty much taught that, you know what I mean? From whether it's your older siblings or if it's your OGs, that they kind of give you the game as far as how to survive in that type of environment. And so, I mean, yeah, even your homies that you grow up with, they teach you that as well.
Well, yeah, and to add to both your points, if you go to WeWorks on Long Beach right now, it's not that it's a case of, oh, beautiful Long Beach.
Right.
Because I was here back and forth, East Coast, West Coast in the 90s.
Yeah.
Long Beach, the first affiliation there is Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
And it's almost like Pac. He wasn't a gangster, but you sure as well know he's aware of what's going on.
he became one.
Right?
Yeah, that's real.
So that's good to know, because selfishly for me, which is what I'm trying to do with this message, I'm Chinese and Filipino. The Chinese side, wear their Superman C. They're very proud, right? Where cinema, food, culture, they're very proud. Filipinos are very disjointed. I'm just being real. Right?
Wow.
So linking up with you guys, and for this 12 episode release on BBC, I've worked with Joe and Q on the Island Block Network. I had an opportunity with 4 other channels, but I went with Island Block because of what Q and Joe were doing. And, I had bonded with Savage because he took the time. Hey, what are you doing? Let's have lunch. Hey, come up to WeWorks. Hey, my dad passed. Hey, just so you know, I'm here if you need to talk.
Yeah.
So that's where I had my love for. But it's good to hear that you guys actually were all about your culture pretty early. Because the easiest thing to do is be blackwashed, whitewashed, whatever washed, whatever zip code you're washed in, you know? And when you guys look at like the internet, since we'll do long form, thank God for the internet for getting into radio, huh? And exposing this to the folks,
Right.
huh?
Yeah.
Because the terrestrial method, I've tried that. I am not good with that at all. The music based.
Gotcha.
12 to 16 seconds, be interesting, price pro. I can't do that.
I've seen it, and we have a good friend who does terrestrial radio, and I walked out of there and I was like, I couldn't do that.
It's tough. I mean, it's a short-term mastery almost,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, you got to get in and get out.
Yeah, but I'll give you guys this. I pledge allegiance to radio, so sorry if it conflicts with other radio programs. Go to dashradio.com, Island Block. Tune into the morning ride. See how tight these guys are. Their method, they're coming in, the DJs, the front announcing, back announcing. It's amazing. But so we'll tally back to when you guys finally went post what you guys were proposing, and you decided, you know, as an executive director and both a co-worker, then you go, fuck this. So the purpose was the barbecue show to help help expose the culture, right?
Yeah. I mean that was my vision about it. But I knew that if I was going to do this, that it needed to be with the right person. And so, you know, for me, I always subscribe to the theory that if you're funny, you've got to have some form of intelligence. You got to be super intelligent. You got to be witty. And I just know how our people are in terms of humor. We are some funny motherfuckers.
Absolutely.
Straight up. Like, and my mom is the funniest person I know. So when I met Joe Saff, I was like, yo, a 16-hour workday felt like a 4-hour workday because we're laughing the entire time. And some funny stuff. It's just not like some cornball stuff. It's like we're laughing about some intelligent shit. So I said, Joe, man, you got to do this with me. And then, you know, I remember, Joe, when I first approached it, and I said, no, man, it's going to be a funny thing. And you're like, yo, I got a reputation in the street. He was like, I don't know that I can do that.
Yeah, sure.
You remember that?
I mean, because it was one of those things. It was like, yo, I don't want to be a character of myself. Right? I don't want to create this other persona that is not me. So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I don't want to be, you know, jokey, and then I find myself in the street, you know, with somebody that feels like they can joke with me. You know what I mean? And then we're gonna have an issue.
Have you ever had that? Have you ever had someone come up to you, be like, you know, kind of talk to you crazy?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Sorry, man. I'm kind of just.
Nah, you know what? No, it hasn't gotten to that point. I mean, you know what? They actually do listen to the show, or they listen to the station, and they're more fans than anything. I mean, it hasn't really gotten to that point where they wanted to test it. You know what I mean? So it was like, I mean, I think that was just my worry because I didn't know. I was just probably afraid of the unknown.
How it was going to be received, do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, here's one thing that I learned from hanging out with Joe. The first few broadcasts, you were really quiet. And there's a turning point where you said, well, if we do that, then I can get down.
Yeah.
If you could enlighten the audience and share that. I
mean, I think, it was, I remember when again, going back to when Q first approached me with it. First of all, again, I didn't want to do it. And then I remember him saying, like, you know what, let's think about, you know, certain formats that's out there. And then one of them was Jamie Foxx. Yeah. He had this thing called the Foxhole Radio.
XM. Yep.
Freaking hilarious.
So I was a huge fan of this. So then I remember saying, hey, if we can do this, then I'm down. Because, like, it's just a no holds bar, you know, him and I. Because, like, again, that's exactly how, you know, like the chemistry started, was just us sort of like clowning on each other, right? And so I was like, if it's that, I know we can do that all day. And I think that's funny because a lot of the people that I know, they would find that funny. And then on top of that, the other thing that that we sort of agreed to was it was like, yo, if we can bring on people that we actually work with in the community, that was my only, because the thing is was like Q has actually done he's actually done music. I don't do music, you know what I mean? And so it was like, well, the only thing that I have to tie to this radio show is what we're doing in the community. So it's like, yo, if we can agree to do that, cool. Then that's my end, because then I know how to do that because I'm doing it. You know what I mean?
And it was also a case of where you guys would knock the guests.
Yeah, surprisingly. So, and that was sort of organic, anyways.
Yeah, that was good.
The story was, I think it was like our second guest. It was like our first or second guest that didn't show up. Shout out to my man Zan, dude.
Yeah, big ups to Zan.
So Zan, it was funny because like there was a certain amount of people that actually tuned into our first show, which I didn't say anything. Like I didn't say a damn word, and Q pretty much, it was a Q show because I didn't even, I was scared out of my damn mind.
I was just looking at you like, bro, when are you going to start talking?
Like, I didn't even know what the hell to say. Anyways, second show comes out. Zen was supposed to be our musical guest. He doesn't show. He said he's sick. And then it was just like one of those things where it was like, okay, well, if he's not here, then that opens it up for us to actually clown on him. And I think it was right then and there, that's when we figured out this was going to be our sort of like, I guess, our
format, right?
Our format.
Yeah.
Was that we were going to not only clown on each other, but then even our guest that was going to come in, we were going to go after them as well. So
now this is when the guests were still just personality based. It wasn't tied to music yet. Like you guys weren't booking guests that were just music based.
No, I mean, I think from the inception, we always wanted to have, like Joe said, have a community guest, because there's so many organizations that are doing great things and people don't know about it. They don't know the work that they're doing. But we wanted to have that. We wanted to dangle a carrot, and that carrot was a musical guest. So we would promote this musical guest, and then they would hear the community-based organization and all the great work that they were doing. So we kind of spoon feeding them the information of the community.
Sometimes you have to be literal, right? And present the package and give the package.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially for...
Hear that, ladies? Give the package.
Get the package, too.
Get the package. Eat the package.
Clean the package. Bathe the package.
Sometimes they don't like it clean.
Wow.
That was weird.
Right after jiu-jitsu? Right after kickboxing?
Right after the gym? Okay, cool. All right.
My bad, Mom.
Wow.
But see, it's a case of, like, I know I've encountered this. The world's both musical and notarized in sports radio talk worst interview is DMX on AM 570.
What?
Wow.
Dude,
I missed that one.
dude, because Petros and Money were interviewing DMX, and he would just give 1 or 2 word answers. Ain't I talking?
He got ADD though.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but still, if you're promoting an album, and Petros and Money, let's just say at minimum they are way serviceable as hosts at minimum, right?
Yeah,
and that's being kind. Dude, he gave so what was the process like? Oh, it was cool. These are questions for you to expound on.
Wow, that's funny.
Well, with the new producer, has anything changed? Nah.
Wow.
Well, you sound completely different in this track and this track. Yeah, just because, when you have a busy day, that's what it was. so I'm sure you guys experienced that, because culturally, anything with a coconut tree and sand, which is inclusive to Filipinos, Samoan, and Guamanian, that's the tough part, right? In interviewing. So what'd you guys do to pull it out, or did you guys just take over the show?
I think you know what, there was a few things. I mean, I think we ended up taking over the show, but there was one thing that we actually learned from Julio G, because I remember he actually mentioned this, and he said hip hop artists were some of the worst interviews he've ever had. And he's done nothing but hip hop, right? And he said that, you know what, if it was sort of like a DMX interview, oh no, we cut that short. So we found out a way, and it was interesting, because I know when Q is about to go out, like we're about to go into a break, and when he says, you want to give any shout outs, that means that the interview's over.
Yeah.
And so it was almost like, you know what I mean? Like we would dig deep too. And then if we didn't get anything, that interview that probably should have been 10 minutes is now 2 minutes, and then we out. I appreciate you coming through all good. Because again, you can't. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna force you to say anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? That's your loss.
Well, a good thing what you guys did too was thank God for Islandesian, Micronesian artists is they're acoustic centric people, so you don't have to mic like an amp and so
we've had some full bands come too.
Sure.
Yeah, no, sure. I'm like, why did you bring a xylophone? What is that?
Right. So at least, having them play their music was good.
Yeah. No. That was definitely one of those I guess advantages of having our folks come out.
Do you guys need to bounce pretty soon, or you guys can give like another 15? 15's good? Okay, so there's trials that you guys go through, and
we could do another hour, bro.
Doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And thank you. And you guys please tell me how you guys try to cheat the music playlists and it bounced back on your face. Who came up with the idea of using Pandora?
Oh, wow.
So I'll set it up and then you explain. So like Joe said, first show, I get it. I'm kind of convincing Joe to do this whole radio thing. So I'm like, you know what? I had to convince him. Let me just do a brunt of the heavy lifting. I'll get the music done. I'll the questions and all that, and I'll just have him chime in. I mean, he's a smart dude. He'll figure out what questions to ask. But I think when he started getting his feet wet, he started getting more comfortable. And he said, you know what? I see you doing a whole bunch of stuff. You're running the board. You're doing the music, this, that, and the third. He goes, let me take some of that off of your plate. And he said, what do you want me to do? I said, okay, you do the music. Perfect. Because I know, perfect, Joe. Thank you so much. You got a great playlist. Handle that. So we get into the, I know I'm supposed to kick this off to you, Joe, but I got to tell this story. So we get off the exit. We get in the studio or whatever, and it's a trek. We're driving like a couple hours to get in the studio. Joe gets his computer, laptop all linked up. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a great show because now I don't have to think about the technical stuff. I could just kind of dive into the conversation. So we go into music. All of a sudden, I hear a bling. I'm like, wow, did an angel get his wings? What the? Play the next song. Bling. I'm like, Joe, I know you're on your laptop. Can't you turn that notification off? He goes, oh no, I'm going through Spotify. You're going through Spotify? Can we go to the next song? Next song. There's a commercial for Spotify that's playing on our station. I'm like, I know what radio is. I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is exactly radio.
That was hilarious. I mean, again, that the raw and uncut parts of us coming up. I mean, because again, it's like, we didn't know what the hell it was in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Like we definitely didn't know what it was. I mean, but I think week after week, what became a hobby, eventually turned into something that we was passionate about. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of it had to do with the reaction of the peoples. But that beginning, that thing was hilarious. And I just remember him looking at him like, come on, bro. Like, what is that? And I'm over here trying to explain to him what Spotify is because Spotify just hit. And he was like, right. And then like every fifth song, there was a commercial. And I was like, it's kind of like our sponsor. You know what I mean? Like in real radio, right? And he kind of looked at me and was like, no, bro, it's just Spotify. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
So in essence, you were kind of helping out Spotify because you guys had a large audience.
Apparently.
But at that point, were you more like, no, I'm not turning the page and I use Spotify? Or were you kind of like,
no, I was. Oh my gosh, it was.
And that was the most bootleg show ever.
It was embarrassing. And then after a while, we just kind of went back to, downloaded our music and stuff like that. Because again, like after every three to five songs, you would hear this, and again, like every time I press it, it'll be like ding. I was like, what the?
Yeah,
embarrassing.
No,
why is there a Cialis commercial on right now? So weird, guys.
There's large families in our community. We don't have problems with Cialis.
No, we don't need that.
Right. But, I wanted to also ask, like, as far as because you guys, and probably I would say even 3 years before I heard about all of us being alumni on Track Life. Mm-hmm. I was curious because whenever I heard like that reggae sound, it was Caribbean based. Mm. Do you guys know or when did that transfer to Islanders? Or has reggae always been available with Islanders?
I just think that island music resonates with island music.
Okay.
With island people. And so we took to that. Now we as an island people took to that because it's feel good music. And if you think about, whenever you go to the islands, people are in a different mood. It's not like, they're everyday rigmarole from being in cotton traffic. They're on the beach. There's coconut trees. There's beautiful people. There's sun. And I just think that kind of music really is a soundtrack to island life.
Right.
And let's face it, man, the Caribbean, there are islands out there. We're islands in the Pacific. It's just, it just makes sense.
So did you guys notice when it started bleeding into the culture?
I would say one of the first groups to do it. I know that Fiji gets credit for a lot of it.
Sure, as they should.
Yes, he's absolutely a living legend. But I would say one of the first groups to do it was a group called Capenna.
Capenna, okay, never heard of him.
Yeah, Capenna. And so check him out. And actually Fiji he's rocked the stage with them on the Aloha Fest. There used to be an Aloha Fest out in the city of Long Beach years ago. But really, they were the first ones, I think, to do it. Joe,
I think a lot of it had to do with what was influencing the world at the time, too.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You have things like UB40, you have things like Sting, right? That actually their influence came from, Jamaica and even like Bob Marley. And I think that's what kind of made its way. Because, again, this thing was worldwide. And so I think that was probably like the music that best resonated with our folks. And so, a lot of our folks just kind of ran with it.
Sorry to cut you off, but one thing that I enjoy now is that you find a lot of true Jamaican artists, Caribbean artists collabing with Polynesian artists, Pacific Islander artists, and so we had the good fortune of being on tour with the drummer of the Wailers, who now drums with Culture Crew, and he's from Jamaica, and he goes, man, the reason why we like doing that, we like collaborating with Polynesian, Pacific Islander artists, is because of the harmonies. And I was like, wow, yeah, you're right, because a lot of our chants going back, to our ancestors, a lot of the chants and the songs is a very strong harmonies, and when you mix that with the reggae beat, man, it's something magical, and it's definitely feel good music. So,
well, I also feel even including your station, Island Block on Dash. There's a world station on Sirius. There's a reggae station. Really, everything Caribbean has now been put on like classic steez. It's the Islanders who are picking up the ball and going, I'm going to keep this going.
Yeah.
So to me, it's amazing because like Lulu's husband, Mata, I would have never thought of that. Like, oh, this guy's like a hip hop head too. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then like he's doing this. It really is the continuum.
Grammy nominated artists in the reggae album of the year category. Mata and the Common Kings.
Right. And you guys are putting Sammy Johnson on the map.
Yeah.
So many different more artists. Like when I see the photos you guys post on Instagram, I'm like, oh my God, this is like another aspect of Community Strong.
Right.
What was the experience like of hosting your first concert? Did you guys have to go through tripping?
Oh,
kind of like the Spotify.
No, I think
story?
it was more begging. You know what I mean? Because we had to beg people to let us on the stage.
You remember the first gig that we emceed together?
It was the museum.
Yeah, it was the museum, right?
I think that's where we kind of, really kind of started the whole. I didn't MC. I still to this day say I'm not an MC. I actually just follow, Q's.
No, he's
leadership.
He's shortchanging himself. He's one of the more talented MCs that you'll see. But
it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I definitely try to take what we do on the radio station, and if that's what's called MCing, then yeah, I guess that's what it is. But yeah, our first event, it was actually my birthday weekend.
Okay.
And there was the opening of PIAM, the Pacific Islander Ethnic Art Museum in Long Beach.
Yep.
And they had like this huge sort of like community sort of like weekend where they invited the community to come out to check out the museum and all that. And so we had different artists and they needed MCs. And ironically enough, man, that was around the first time that Ida MC became Ida MC as well. And so Q was like, hey, man, why don't you come MC this thing with me? And I was deathly afraid of this damn thing that I actually showed up and I was drunk as hell. And Q
That's
just
always a good remedy, right?
I was like, wow.
I was gone. I was lit. I was gone. And then he kind of looked at me. He was like, gosh, damn, man. He didn't know what the hell I was going to say. But I needed it because, again, I was like, this is foreign to me. So, yeah, I think the first few times I had to get drunk.
For you, bro, were you playing the direction guy?
I'm always playing the direction guy.
He was always the direction guy.
Remember the Odd Couple? That's us.
Right, so he's color commentator and you're
I'm a square bear, right?
And ironically, for the listening audience, how when people say the world is small, it really is. I was dating a Tahitian dancer, and you guys were the MCs at that time. Is for
that's why she broke up with you.
right.
She's like, why are you laughing at those guys? Those guys are scumbags.
Dude, it was with Tevaori.
Oh yeah. Tevadu Audi, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And Angela, who's half Filipino,
Yeah.
Shout out to
runs the
Angela.
whole joint. And you guys were hired there. And I was filming for the event. I created like a EPK for them.
He told me that.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm going to
didn't
launch.
realize that.
I'll post it on Instagram
That's
this week
funny.
and tag you guys.
Shout out to TiVo.
Yeah, man.
TVO.
Yeah, but it's so small because you would think like I'm in radio, I'm in production, and then for it to come Hidden Circle, where
Okay, so
I work with
you've
you guys.
seen this then, right? You've seen us up there.
Yeah, and
What was your? So now that you look back at
Some
it,
questions we don't want to ask,
you know
Joe.
what I mean? You give us your critique about what we did on that stage.
I think it was perfect and conjunctory to what you guys were saying about being yourselves. Like Filipinos have that sense of humor also.
Gotcha.
It's just obviously in the Filipino language.
Yeah.
Which I think Filipino Americans have lost because they pointed Western. But Filipinos and people with a coconut culture, they have this.
I'm gonna use that.
I like that.
Coconut culture.
They have this sense of humor that is multi-level deep,
Yeah.
but comes out simpleton or simple.
That's true.
Not
That's
simpleton, simple. But there's several layers to like what you're saying. And I hate to harp back to this. This is why I got down with you guys, because it's like, okay, these are my people that I've never known. They're like my cousins.
Yeah.
So when I see you guys up there, and I think Ida MC was on that show too.
Had to be.
And there is a giant legend where he broke the floor or created a hole.
Wow, that was the one. Yeah.
That's the one where he did a somersault.
Yeah, he did the splits.
Look,
And
Ida MC for you folks who are tuning in right now. D1 college football. Had a little stint with the Giants.
6'5"?
6'5",
6'5".
6'5", 6'6", yeah.
Giant dude
Played with the XFL too.
Play with XFL, yeah.
to do a giant flip.
Yes.
Poor Wood.
Yeah.
But yeah, watching you guys, I was like, okay, this makes sense. There's Tahitian dancing. There's these two guys who are entertaining, but they're working in a binary method, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So there was a flow. It wasn't just like hookadoo, ba whoop de whoop. And then here's this. It may be interpreted by that, but naturally you guys had a method. It was an inane, organic method,
yeah.
but I respected it.
Something like that.
I
yeah.
loved it. I mean, it was almost like the Pacific Island Def Comedy Jam. Right? Because it's like you're being yourself.
That stuff inspires me.
Yeah.
The Def Comedy Jam.
Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah,
is
man.
legendary.
All that stuff, man.
But here's the thing, like the whole purpose to this episode, guys, it's like there's like two personalities to our cultures.
Right.
There's the submissive, quiet, I will not relinquish any information.
True.
And then there's the clowny, smart ones, even though it doesn't have to be like rocket science.
Very sarcastic.
Very witty, very sarcastic, but it's deep. So I really appreciated you guys.
I definitely agree.
I definitely appreciated you guys doing that.
Thanks, man.
So
Small world.
So
Damn, that's crazy.
Small world.
yeah, and this is like 2011 maybe.
Okay, so let's talk about this young lady that you were dating. Whatever became of this?
It was a bad breakup.
Okay, yeah, let's.
Island women are crazy, bro.
So I'll let you guys take over for a little bit, but motherfuckers, you know this is my motherfucking show. But it's a conversation because we're all 3 MCs, right? 3 hosts.
I just needed to know.
She was cute. She was mixed Filipino and which part in Europe? Norwegian.
Oh wow.
I'll show you guys pictures post show.
There you go.
You know what, man? Here's the thing that maybe you guys can deal with this,
Okay.
or will agree with it. I can't deal with that Orange County high maintenance. I'm a mixed girl shit.
Have no idea. Have no experience.
There you go.
And so have no feedback.
Nah,
Right, because
I could dig it.
well, because just the perception of it. Q as a picture, and Joe, princess all her life.
Oh yeah.
It's not like we wouldn't want to take care of someone, but they expect way too much. And I don't come from that income bracket where it's like
Entitlement.
exactly.
Oh, so you had to keep up with the Joneses.
Dude, I actually wanted to ask her sister out. 'Cause her sister was not a Tahitian dancer, but like, look, Norwegian and Filipino.
Right.
Super. And you know, the great thing about those Tahitian crews, man, there's some hot girls up
yeah.
there, dude.
That's where that's prime for the picking right there.
Dude,
That's prime for the picking.
you're right. It's like they should have like Planned Parenthood sponsorship. And to get a lot of them.
Do you guys want a Plan B sponsorship for you guys?
Right. You see girls getting shots, and then the male groupies walk out.
It's just like, yo. Especially when they go to those little festivals, it gets really interesting.
But yeah, to lob the question back, guys. I mean, I go through this all the time. I have the hardest time dealing with relationships. So, isn't this?
You haven't met your.
No, I don't. Plus, I don't want to put it on the good blast. I'm like, oh, this is me and this girl. You can't. I learned this from Cassie, who was on Moonlight. I don't know if that channel's still here.
Okay.
She was like, dude, I can't show people that I'm all booed up.
Because again, you're probably gonna lose some followers.
Or I don't know, maybe because you guys know when we put our heels and pad our bras up and our makeup on, there's a sense of like, yo, I am the MC, I am masterful,
Gotcha,
right?
Gotcha.
I don't need Lupita Nyong'o liking me. I am Black Panther. So are you guys actively dating? Are you guys taken or?
I'm actively dating.
We're taking and actively dating.
There's I guess, yep.
Like
Actively dating.
Exclusive?
No.
Oh, okay. How about you?
I give that up a long time.
Oh man, yeah, of course. I'm exclusive with all of them.
There's a method to the madness. You know what I mean?
Right.
Definitely a method to madness.
So here's the deal.
Yeah.
It's tough to find that one because when we're in our 40s, so we're definitely like, nope, I want bone-in ribeye. If you're not bone-in ribeye, you're filet for the day. That's it. So is it tougher for you guys because you guys are pickier and you're more sage-like now?
I think for me, it's more or less like just finding somebody that's going to support what the hell I got going on.
Yep.
And understand what it is. You know what I mean? Because the entrepreneur life is a lonely life.
Yep.
And it's something that a lot of people can't understand because unless you're one yourself, or unless you've been around it or you're one yourself, you know what I mean? You just can't get with it. And so I think for me, it's like I pick and choose. I look at it. My brother kind of put it in the best way to explain this, and he's like, "Yo, it's like a grand production, right? It's like a movie, and everybody just playing a part in it. And so when I call you for your part, be ready for your scene. And when your scene's over, I'm gonna keep it pushing."
For you, Q, what's your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about communicating and setting realistic expectations. Like this station is what I'm related to. This is what I'm nurturing right now.
Sure.
And it does take a special person to be with someone who is an entrepreneur, who is building their own business, who is building their empire. It takes a special person. And so, anyone who can stick it out with the entrepreneur and, understand and see the big picture. And I know it's cliche, but it really, it's not easy being with somebody like, a Joe Sav, a Q, or anybody, fill in the blank. It's not easy being with somebody like us. You're not going to see us.
Right.
When we got to go travel on a Sunday, your birthday is on a Tuesday, and we got a gig on a Monday, like there's a chance that I might not be here for your birthday.
Right.
But
Was that tough initially before, or was it easy? That was automatic already for you guys?
you just got to let them know up front.
See, it's tough for me because coming from my background, it's like a relationship becomes everything. And that's a downfall because all throughout my 20s, I was with 4 girls in 8 years. They were like year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, year and a half.
You're serial monogamous.
Well, after 33, dude, that was it. After 33, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to date. And honestly, like for me, the kiss of death is because of Tinder and Bumble, I can get laid.
Straight up.
The biggest problem with that is, right?
Straight up.
Eddie Murphy, the royal penis is now clean. Colonizer. That's a big deal about men. It's like because you're fulfilled sexually, then the long-term dating becomes delayed.
Yeah. No, seriously, it's like why? And I think that's the part with a lot of millennials. You know what I mean? Because matter of fact, it goes back to what we were talking about with the guy that had an issue with the topic that we actually put out there. The topic of the day was, is there such thing as a soulmate in this day and age? That's basically what it was. And so a lot of millennials hit back and was just like basically saying like, no, there's no such thing because of how easy and accessible it is just to hook up with somebody. So it's almost like the total opposite. There is no courting or anything like that. It's just like, I'm going to use this device, and the courting is swipe left, swipe right, or whatever, right? And then we're just going to hook up, and then I'm going to try to get to know you after the fact, which is, kind of crazy.
Dude, like 69 is like a handshake to them, dude. These motherfuckers, dude. It's like the Vietnam War is when they lose Wi-Fi. That's like their Vietnam War, dude.
That's freaking hilarious, bro.
Oh my God, it's like crazy. So before we wrap, and I've taken a lot of your time.
No.
This is fun, man.
Oh,
good.
Like, yeah, this is amazing. Were there points? I lied. It's going to be a little bit longer, like another 5 to 10 more minutes. Was there points when you guys got to Dash where you're like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm fucking quit. Or was it just two strong bulls? Albeit internally or communicated?
I never felt that way.
Okay.
Is it hard to wake up at 3:30 in the morning? Yes. Is it a drive to come from the station, go back to Long Beach, and a drive that took you 20 minutes in the morning is now going to take you 2 hours to get back home?
Sure.
Is that a drag? Yeah, that's a drag. But I put shit into perspective, man. Like, we got an opportunity to create something that hasn't been created for our people. We got a responsibility, and put it into perspective, man. I'm not on a roof, slapping hot tar on a summer day.
Right. And nothing wrong with that either.
Nothing wrong with that, because we come from, our people work hard. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm good. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I was supposed to do. It wasn't the music. I did the music thing. I did the community thing. This is our form of community service. And that's why I think we go so hard in the paint with it. So
for you, Joe, were there points?
Oh yeah, I think there's always points, like the low points. You know what I mean? As far as like, I think it's more or less just like fatigue than anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like I don't think it's the point where it's like, yo, fuck this shit, I'm gonna quit. I don't think that it's that. It's just really just finding that work-life balance. You know what I mean?
That's the challenge for sure.
And, you know, I've actually had this open conversation with Q. It's like, you know, within the past, I would say year, I've gained the most weight ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like I put on, 80, 100 pounds, right? And so that's actually changed me as a person, whether it be me being more tired or whatever. I can't do certain things. And so I think that's the part where I feel it the most. But I mean, as far as like quitting, like what Q said, man, it's just putting things in perspective. Even though that has happened, you know, I look at my pops, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? He's 80 plus at this point.
Wow.
And so it's like he's still out there and you wouldn't even think it. He's still doing jobs and everything. And the thing is that I think that's where I get it from, is because it's just a work ethic, right? So it's just like I see him and I know for a fact that if he stopped doing what he was doing, that it would be done. You know what I mean, for him. And so it was like, man, I can't stop myself. And so a lot of the things that's probably holding me back is just all personal stuff. You know what I mean? I'm getting in the way of myself. So it's like, yeah.
So you guys can share this last question as long as you want. And these guys are radio roll dogs, dude, because they just got done doing a 4-hour show, which I can speak from my experience is really an 8-hour show. Okay.
Straight up. You're right about that.
You know, when people say, oh, you only do 4 hours of radio every day. It's like, no, I'm going to punch you in the face right now, dude. So to inspire the audience, and I know we're skipping a lot because we don't have that much time. But
you got as much time as you want, bro.
Okay. From going from a live stream show to getting onto Dash. And then we'll talk about the elation when you got on Dash. But that story, people need to hear that. Because this is in the midst of you guys hosting events, still live streaming, and there are alternatives, ironically parallel to me, where it's like, I'm on Sirius, no one knows about me. Maybe I should get on Be Real. Maybe I should get on Track Life. Maybe I should get on this to expose. So
the story of us getting to here.
To Dash, yeah.
I think prior to even doing that, like you know, we met some other platforms that we pretty much sort of like collaborated and partnered with. You know, that being Pipeline to Paradise, which is out of Vegas, and then Track Life. Track Life was one of those stations that we actually kind of met along the way. Good brothers, man.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so shout out to those guys. They actually seen what we were doing, and I think with myself and Q, we always knew.
Sorry. And then even before then, BeetleNut Radio.
Yeah.
Was the first ones.
We was already on BeetleNut at the time, but like we already knew that we wanted to create something like Island Block Radio. It didn't have the name at the time, you know what I mean? But when we met with people like Pipeline to Paradise and even Track Life, you know, we already had this vision of, man, we're going to create something like that, you know what I mean? And have everything that we have on it today. And so I want to say it was at the end of 2014, we actually got to meet Ski at an event in Compton. And so... what
was the event?
It was a YG event. YG was doing something like a backpack giveaway out there. And Nipsey Hussle was there. There was a bunch of other folks. And basically they were just kind of giving back to the community. So we connected with them. And, you know, the irony about it was that when we actually met with him, you know, gave us his contact. And then like a week later after we met him, he actually stepped down from 102.7 and he launched Dash Radio. And so from that time on, it was probably like about 6 months.
Did you know of Dash launching when you met him?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. The only thing, the real reason why we actually approached him was because he actually had this thing called Ski 24/7, which was pretty much Dash, just one station. And I know
Studio Beat.
Yeah, Cricket Eye was on there. There was a bunch of other like shows that was actually on that thing. And so that's what really kind of got us, you know, we were looking at him. We were looking at Be Real because Be Real had his stuff. And so, so that's the reason why we actually approached him. And so, you know, during that time when we actually talked to him, he was like, yo, I'm working on something. We didn't know that next week he was going to step down and then he was going to launch Dash. And so shout out to Alani Chi and Tony Alvarez. They were the ones that actually first kind of listened to what we had going on when we were still at We Labs. Alani came, checked us out, you know, our whole setup that we, you know, I mean, you see what it was.
Sure.
And so it was her, kind of vouching for us to Tony. And then after that, Tony gave us the call. We actually came out here to Dash. And and then basically right after that, he felt that our show fit the reggae station, at the time. And it was called, what was it called? Kingston.
Kingston, yeah.
Kingston station. And so, so then that's pretty much what it was. It was like, so they gave us the nod to actually come on over the beginning of 2015. So that was huge for us.
And a lot of people don't realize, like, Dash was uber, not that it's not exclusive now, but the exclusivity then for you guys to hop on then.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
It's a giant, and it hovers over your head where you're like, get on Dash, get on Dash, get on Dash. How'd you guys feel when you hopped on?
I think it was surreal though, because again, like, a lot of the people that were here at the time that we were just kind of like passing up. I mean, like, this is the place where we first met people like Julio G. And,
we grew up listening to Julio G.
Right.
Here in LA.
And the funniest thing was that one of the girls that was actually on our station at the time, Tiffany Brazil.
Okay.
She actually came from radio. And so she actually knew Julio G.
Right.
So, and the thing was, I never seen what he looked like, right? And the interesting thing was that he passed me up and I heard his voice. And I looked at him and I was just like, yo, you Julio G? And he's like, yeah, man. I was like, yo, dog, hey, I'm a huge fan, bro. Like, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? And then, to have somebody like him sign off on what we were doing with the barbecue show, oh, man, that thing was, you're like, yo, man, you've been doing this. Like, you're a legend in the game. And, you know what I mean? Like, we put some years in it, but, for him to actually, after some of our shows, because he used to record after us on Thursday nights. And for him to like sit there for 2 hours and listen to the show, you know what I mean? And we kind of did that purposely because there was a lot of people that were sitting in the lobby upstairs, just waiting for their time to kind of use the studios, and he was one of them. And so just having him come over and just like, hey man, good show, man, I like it. We were like,
it's humbling.
Yo, what the?
Wow, really?
So yeah, it was definitely one of those moments.
Q, how do you feel like when you hopped on?
I mean, I felt great because prior to that, I would have to set up all the equipment. I'm telling you, man, like the equipment that we had,
gangster.
We would hold the mic and tape it in a certain way so you can stop that crackling popcorn noise.
Sure.
And then to come into a space that's, DJ Ski has it set right. He obviously comes from radio, so he gets the best equipment, and then, just have everything set up. It was definitely a blessing, man, and I never take it for granted. Every time I walk in here, at 5:30 in the morning, it's a blessing, man. So, we were afforded the facility and the equipment, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense for us not to put our heart and our soul into it. We got there's no excuse for us. There's a big audience. There's a potential for an amazing platform, and so there's no excuse for us not to do what we do. And I think that's why we go so hard.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of people from any age group is if you're trying to do something creative and you're switching careers, you got to think about it every minute and you have to act on it every minute.
You're right.
And then when it's time for falling, if you take it as lesson learned moving forward, then you'll move forward.
Yeah. Fall forward.
Fail forward.
Fail forward. Thank
you. And not to be all Will Smith and shit, but
I love Will Smith.
I love Will Smith too. His wife, well, this is a terrible close, but do you think Jada Pinkett Smith and Pac got together?
I would think so.
Yeah, I think they did.
I would say so.
I would think so.
That's why he's so corny a rapper. Like, she had to go with someone hard.
Yeah.
Dude.
So then she was like, "Okay, I already been with somebody hard. He ended up passing away. So now I gotta go with safe.
Right.
He's gonna outlive this guy. So
let's face the facts, y'all. Pac was not a corny dude. He was a smooth brother.
No way, dude. Like, Will Smith was Garfield, Pac is Black Panther.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All that being said, man, when he saw a young Jada,
oh man,
he's like, yo,
green eyes.
I'm on the hunt. I'm getting that.
My God, dude. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So, where can they get a hold of you and your social media handles and everything?
Social media, man, you can hit me up on Joe Sav 100 on Instagram, and then just Joe Savage on Facebook. Everything else.
Yeah, man. Just follow us on Island Block Radio at Island
All
Block
things,
Radio.
all things Island Block
All things
Radio.
Island Block
Straight
Radio. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. This was great.
Thank you, bro. It's kind of weird being on this side of it, though,
It's great, right?
but it's fun. Yeah,
It's great.
fun. I mean, it's you, so we're good.
All right, cool.